Okay, so the reflux is now complete. So this is the second video for the synthesis of 1-bromobutane. And I have reflux for 45 minutes, and I've allowed the solution to cool. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a simple distillation, and I'm going to collect, it says distill the mixture, making frequent readings of the temperature until 20 to 25 mils of distillate has been collected, or no more water insoluble liquid appears in the distillate. So there's sulfuric acid in there, there's some contaminated butanol, or leftover butanol that hasn't reacted. There's probably some other contaminants, and then there's the bromobutane, which we're trying to collect. And you can see that there's two different layers here. So that's probably the bottom layer is the sulfuric acid, the aqueous, and then that's the bromobutane. But we're gonna do a distillation to try to isolate most of the bromobutane and leave the sulfuric acid behind. So we're going to distill it. We only want to go no higher than 115 degrees. And so we'll be getting probably some water and some bromobutane over. So let me set that up. And to set that up, I need to go ahead and remove my condenser. So let's see, I'm going to do that. I'm going to pull that up. Still a little bit warm, but that's okay because we're going to heat it up again. So now my condenser is going to do the normal thing and be a regular condenser, but let me remove it from now. I'm actually going to turn the water off. These things are a pain. Trying to open it up here to get it out. All right, there we go. Let's see if I can. I'll leave it there and leave the water going. All right, so now what I want to do is I'm going to put it back down into the heater. I'm going to get my still head, which is this. Now the condenser will attach like this, and again, it's still, let's move my camera back. There is still cold water running in the bottom, hot water running in the top, so now I've got that. I've got my piece here, so this is all my distillation. And finally, it says to catch it in a 50 mil, whoops, 50 mil flask. So I'm going to get some clips to clip it all together. This one, the bigger side goes here. All right, I've got my thermometer and it's not touching the glass, and it is right here. Let's turn that on. All right, and I'm going to turn the heat on. So I've got my distillation going. It's all ready. Be a little hard to see it, but there it's my distillation. I'll kind of give you a front view here. So again, I've got my thermometer. Should not be touching the glass. I'm going to do a simple distillation, and so to purify this, to catch, we're not going to catch it all, but we're going to catch most of the bromobutane. We may have a few other contaminants that we're going to deal with next. So this is going to boil, it's going to come up here, condense, and we're going to collect the first few, the first 20 to 25 milliliters. I'm going to pause it here while it heats up, and then I'll come back and give you the temperatures as it boils. All right, so the temperature has just reached about 76 degrees. And that was when the first drops started coming into my container. I don't know if you can see that there. You can see it dropping in. So my distillation is going forward. My temperature right now is about 79 degrees, 80 degrees. And it's climbing. So I'll keep a watch on the temperature as it distills. We don't want it to get above 115 because what that'll do is it'll leave some of the sulfuric acid and some of the other components behind, and we're hopefully getting most of the bromobutane. So the temperature's jumped up to about 82, but it's smooth. It didn't jump. It's smoothly climbing as this distills. We want 25 to 30 mils, and since that's a 50 ml container, we probably want it to be about half filled, and we'll see what happens when we get to that point. So I'll pause it for a minute while that happens. The distillation's continuing. I keep getting more into my flask. The temperature is now about 89, so again, we want it to climb a little bit more. I'm guessing that there's mostly the bromobutane that has a boiling point of about 101 if it was pure. Water is probably also coming over. Sulfuric acid, who has a much higher boiling point, should still be staying behind, and hopefully some of the butanol also that has a little bit higher boiling point should stay behind. So it's kind of slowed down. I don't know if it's not in there, down in there enough. Still boiling, but it's just taking its sweet time, so I'll pause again. All right, the temperature is jumping a bit more now. It's now at about 111 degrees. It's definitely, it has increased rapidly. It seems like we're not getting quite as much out the other end though. Seems like it's sort of slowed, the dripping has slowed down. We'll just keep it going again until about 115 and then we'll stop. So we're at 113. Again, the dripping into the container has slowed down, so I'm guessing we've gotten most of what we're trying to get. Yep, there's a bunch more. We'll just go a little bit more. Well, actually, it was touching the thermometer was touching the glass, so we're only at about 105 degrees, so we're not quite there. 106, 107. It's a little bit jumbled. Okay, the temperature has risen to about 100. Hold on. Okay, so it's reached 115, actually a little higher, so I've turned it off and I let it cool down. So you might find it interesting that what's left over in the pot is this bright orange color after it's cooked. And we've got just gonna let that cool, but I'm gonna take this off and look at our product that we've collected. It's a little bit hard to see, but there's definitely, it's a little hard to see with that. Let's see if we can do this. Go down a little bit more. It's a little hard to see, but there's definitely 2 layers in there. Woo! I just spilled some. So there you go. If our percent yield's low, you know one thing that happened. So yep, I spilled a little bit of it, so we'll see what we get. But now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pour my distillate into a separatory funnel. I'm going to let it sit for a minute. We can definitely see that there's 2 layers. Let's see if we can get that a little taller. You can definitely see that there's 2 layers. So I'm going to let it settle a little bit. And what we want to collect I'm going to add add about 25 mils of water to the funnel and draw off the bottom organic layer. So the organic layer, actually, if you notice, bromobutane actually has a density that's greater than water, so it should be the bottom layer. So let me add 25 mils of water. Had to find my stopper, sorry about that. So there's what's in my Bromobutane flat, a separatory funnel. Mixing it. Remember to open my stopcock. Turn that water off. All right, I'm going to let it settle, and I want to draw off the lower organic liquid into an Erlenmeyer flask. I'm going to take my lid off, and then I'm going to just take the bottom layer. Bottom layer is a little bit cloudy. And I probably lost a little bit of it when I spilled it. Oop, here we go. I got a bit too much water in there. So I actually ran it through there again. And so I've collected, down here, I've collected my bottom layer. So I'm going to pour my top layer into a beaker. It says to add a drop of water to make sure it's the aqueous layer before just getting rid of it. But I can tell just by the volume that I have that there's quite a bit of water. So yeah, I added a little bit of water and it definitely dissolved. And so the top layer was the water layer, and that's what I'm going to dispose of. So now I have my bromobutane, still kind of impure. It's probably got some acid in it. It's probably got some other impurities in it. So the next thing I'm going to do is, let me make sure. So now I'm going to put it back in the separatory funnel. There's a little water in there still, but eventually we'll get that out. All right, so I've poured it back in my separatory funnel, and this time I am going to add 10 milliliters of concentrated sulfuric acid. I've already had it cooling down in an ice bath over here. So I'm going to slowly add. Now the sulfuric acid is also, sulfuric acid is more dense than bromobutane. Okay, I'm adding it. Got to be really careful with sulfuric acid because it's very concentrated and very, okay. So now it says allow it to separate for about 5 minutes. So I'm going to stir it and separate it. So again, I've stirred it up, I've let it, sorry, so I've stirred it up and I'm letting it sit for a few minutes. I'm actually going to stop this video here because I have to go do something else, and then I will record the rest of the lab for you to watch later.